Hey David, how are you doing?
Doing good. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you. How have you guys been?
We've been good. Did a lot of traveling with the band in the last couple months, but now I'm home for the rest of all the way through the holidays, actually.
Yeah, home is good.
Yeah.
I find that I enjoy being home more and more now. It's just, yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about your musical background.
Um, I was thinking about it yesterday, actually. My we were doing Christmas decorations, and I was trying to find like the version of Mannheim Steamroll that I loved around the holidays. I don't know if you remember them at all.
I do.
I'm from
Yeah.
Omaha, and we first recorded in that studio. My dad's sold like health insurance, I think, to Chip Davis, the piano player. And just hearing it just reminded me how much of that like really informed my musicianship today. Like those synths, they did everything so unique and different, and it sounds really dated. But then there's something about it, like the 1980s fresh air from Mannheim Steamroller. Most people just know the Christmas stuff, but it was so good, that those fresh air albums, and that's what really like got me excited about making music. It's tracing it all the way back to the beginning.
Well, yeah, I only know their Christmas stuff. So I had no idea there was more. I'm going to have to go look that up now.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's weird. It brings in like this minstrel type, something you'd expect to be heard at like a like where the Renaissance fair where they dress up and stuff, but then they have
Oh,
synths as
wow.
well. So that combo broke all these rules and was really freeing, I think, as a kid to know that you can. I didn't understand what was going on at the time, but to cross that many genres, that group was my earliest known influence. And then Keith Green on the piano was a big part of my life growing up. I didn't listen to a lot of rock and roll. We weren't allowed to because of our upbringing. But
Oh,
yeah, my my parents eventually came around, and now I play rock and roll for a living.
yeah. My heart is in rock, always has been. So
Yeah.
my dad hated that when I was growing up, but I,
Why? Why do you think?
he thought it was just bad culture, and he had a lot of issues, and he liked classical music. If it wasn't Beethoven and Mozart, or something like that, he was
Yeah,
kind of opposed to it. So,
yeah. I give them a lot of grace because there was a culture associated with it, like there is with anything. Man, you see the Beethoven movie, or yeah, I think it was the Beethoven movie. The way, or I think it was Mozart. The way he lived his life, is
oh
so
yeah, Amadeus, I think
so
was the name of the movie.
very much like a rock star. So
Absolutely, yeah. And I love to hear Beethoven and Mozart and other classical pieces played on the electric guitar.
oh
There are
yeah.
some beautiful versions of Moonlight Sonata and other pieces that are just fantastic. So,
Moonlight Sonata, I think I learned that when I stopped reading music when I was maybe in eighth grade. Jazz band, I saw the chords next to it. And I was like, man, I can play those three notes, and that makes that chord they're writing there. And then I figured out, well, they put a seven next to it. Well, then you put the seven on with it. But before that, I had learned to read enough to learn Moonlight Sonata and a few like just Scott Joplin ragtime piano type stuff.
nice. Well, when did you get started with Remedy Drive? How did you guys come together?
My brother Philip and I started. I had written some songs, and we did a couple of uh, like talent shows in high school. I started in my freshman year. I played the Smashing Pumpkins song "Disarm" on acoustic guitar, just me.
Nice.
I was nervous. The mic wasn't the right height, so I had to like ask for somebody to help me put the mic right with this quavery voice. Um, but then Philip and I started writing songs together in high school, and then in college, one of our two brothers would play with us on drums, and then we started getting invited places eventually, and figured out that we could make a living out of it shortly after that.
Yeah, you guys have a great sound together. I've been listening to, I go in rotations on my playlist. And so the last few
Yeah.
days I've been listening to a lot of Remedy Drive. What inspires you when you're writing songs or just in your art?
I didn't realize what I was doing early on, um, but I just kind of have always just kind of taken notes of life and culture, and I've been especially drawn to difficult things. and hope in the midst of difficult things. So when I'm watching a movie, I've always been frustrating to be someone to watch a movie with, because if I'm at a theater, even I'm typing a quote into my notes of my phone. Before I had a phone, I carried a little notepad. Um, and if someone says something in a conversation with me, I'll say, man, I want to remember that. Can you say that again? Or if somebody quotes something in a movie or a poem or a story, like I try to curate those ideas and re repackage them and put them together in couplets, um, in rhymes, and then find a couplet here that fits with another couplet here. But mainly, I'm just inspired by really beautiful things other people have said or done. Mainly, courageous and brave things that people do. I think that's the most courageous thing, or the most inspiring thing to write from.
Absolutely. Well, tell me about your work with the Exodus Road and how you got involved with them.
The Exodus Road is a NGO, a non-government organization that focuses on finding people that are enslaved, specifically younger girls caught in sex trafficking. So Matt from the Exodus Road had heard a song of ours on the radio in 2008. He didn't tell me this till the beginning of last year, which I like that he waited that long to tell me. But that song was like a really important part of his life, and a song he listened to on repeat. Specifically when he had to, he was a youth leader at the time, and he had to gather his group together when one of the students had died, got hit by lightning. And
Wow.
so this guy already knows about my songs, knows about my music. Fast forward in his life from that time in '08 to 2012 or 2011, he started this non-government organization, started in Thailand. He's finding evidence of girls um, that are being trafficked from the countryside of northern Thailand down into the cities. And he kind of stumbled on the need himself because he was at an orphanage there, or a charity of some sort, a children's charity. His wife and he were there. And so he just started doing investigations on his own to find proof to show to the law enforcement that this is going on. And eventually, he started making spy gear on his own so that he could get video evidence, because they needed evidence if they're going to take action, especially when there's the risks are so high, because there's mafias involved and there's organized criminal networks involved. And so it's hard to get law enforcement to jump into such a dangerous situation just off of a tip. And so that's his life. I'm still making music, but he came to Nashville and cold called me and a bunch of other artists and said, I'm looking for artists to talk about this work. So that's how it all started for us. He was a fan of the band, and he was hopeful that maybe we would lend a bit of our platform to his cause.
Absolutely. And you are using your art to save lives. And that is something that I love. And you were talking about quotes. One of my favorite quotes from you is, "Justice is in the hands of the ordinary." And when I heard you say that,
Hmm.
it really resonated with me so much, about how much power we have as individuals, and we don't often think about that. How the part that we can play, the role that we can play, and instead of waiting for someone else to do something big, we all have talents that we can use to make a difference.
And I actually stole that from Matt. That was
All right. Well,
and I put it in a lyric.
we'll give it to Matt then. But yeah, well, I heard you say it first. But yeah, well, thank you to Matt for that statement. I think we need to spread that statement, uh, because
And
it,
specifically with artists, I don't know how it is for you, but it's easy for me as an artist to reduce what I'm doing. It's just a song, or it's just a story, or it's just a poem, or it's just a painting. But I've curated a lot of great quotes about art as well. One in particular says, you can look at a picture and never think about it again, or you can look at a picture one time and think about it for the rest of your life. And that's the same with songs. And it's been film especially that's drawn me into this movement of justice. This is what I'm giving my life towards, and I wouldn't have, had it not been for people that crafted great speeches like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He crafted those speeches in such a way that it touched on this belief that we all have, this knowledge that we all have, that there is something about us that longs to get involved. And the role of an artist is to remind us of that beautiful part of who we are, and to remind us that not only is that longing there, but art tells us and just whispers and even hints and nudges us and says, there's a chance for you to be involved in this too. You can actually tear a little corner off the darkness, like Bono said. You can keep the darkness at bay, like Gandalf said.
Yeah.
All that hopeful, but almost like, yeah, you can't even just saying it out loud when we're talking. Yeah, it might have some effect, but in the form of art, it cuts through all those barriers, um, and all those reasons that are oftentimes seem very legitimate for us to do nothing. But art can cut through and convince us, and then I needed to remind me that our small, seemingly insignificant actions of love in the direction of freedom, in the direction of justice, they have they matter, they're valuable.
Absolutely. And art shines a bright light in very dark places. Art is powerful, and we need people to use their creative talents.
Yeah.
And there's no talent too small. There's no form of creative energy that's too small or insignificant. And it's very easy to say, oh, well, I painted this, but it's not as good as that painting. And it's so easy to downplay our art, and our creativeness, but it's all beautiful and it's all necessary. And when we combine all of those things, they come together and make this very beautiful thing that has the power, I believe, to change the world in
Yeah.
so many different ways.
I don't think we have to believe it. I think it's a fact. Like,
Yeah.
art will change the world, and it continues to. And all significant. I mean, we started talking about rock and roll culture, and yeah, sex, drugs, and rock and roll was a thing. But without rock and roll, there wouldn't have been the sort of the light shining on the injustices of the conflict we were in the '60s. Um, like, there's always been a role that art plays in movements, and in specifically, I want to research this a little bit, um, but in a lot of justice work too.
I'm
I want to
sure.
I want to come up with a ton of examples. It would be my TED talk.
All right.
But
Well, I will be there for that TED talk. That sounds great. Well, how has it changed you working with Exodus Road and the things that you've seen and done with them?
um, I'm not happy like I used to be, because I've seen with my own eyes, in real situations, I've seen people being sold. I've seen teenage girls being sold. I've in a role with the Exodus Road doing undercover work. I've negotiated for the price of 15-year-old, 16-year-old girls with gangsters, while we're spying on them, while we're collecting evidence of what they're doing. Sometimes on our own, sometimes with law enforcement embedded with us. And like, I have those pictures. I have this picture of a teenager from Venezuela, um, like knocking on my window of my car as we drove through this one district, in Latin America, and she's sniffing glue, and we roll down the window, and she's being trafficked for sure. And all they're getting for her is, $15 per encounter. And I don't know how to get that I don't know how to get that out of my head except through writing songs. But I'm not less hopeful, and I've thought about it a lot to answer that question. I'm not less hopeful, but my hope is more informed at the way the world actually is, and not the way I hoped it would have been. And it's not just the tragedy of this particular justice issue, but it's the tragedy of widespread apathy towards the cause of the most vulnerable people.
I listen to your music and I hear things that you are doing, and it's it's so needed, and it is such a hopeful inspiration. It's a very powerful thing. And it's there are just people all over the world that need help. And through your music and what you're doing with Exodus Road is helping so many of them.
I believe that, and I believe that my role is to do that, but I believe hopefully the bigger part of what we're doing is convincing people to join. Because there's a reason why you tear up a lot of times in a movie or in a song, and in movies specifically, it's when somebody does that thing that you're like, man, I hope I would be that courageous. I think that's where the tears are coming from, because we know that that's there. We know that the capacity exists inside of us, and I think it's my job as an artist to continue to try to do whatever I can to convince people that that spark is there, and to breathe a little bit of oxygen on it, and even just to amplify the voice, because the people I hang out with that are enslaved, they have a voice, they have something to say, and I've heard them. I ask most of the time, there's not a lot of time for small talk, but sometimes there's way too much time for small talk in the environments I'm in, and it's awkward. And one question I always like to ask a teenage girl that's being sold for sex against her will is, in Spanish, it's easier, but if I'm in Thailand, I'll use Google Translate. If you didn't have to do this, what do you wish you could have done? So it's not like she doesn't have something to say. She has a voice.
Right.
And she tells me usually, like, I wish I could have went to beauty school or went to cooking school. And
You're letting her say that. You're giving her that where other people may not have been willing to listen, or they've stifled that voice or tried to.
yeah,
You're giving these girls, you're giving people a chance to speak and
yeah.
say what's on their heart and mind.
And it's got to be weird for her to experience that kind of kindness from someone that's, as far as she knows, I'm just like all the other people there that are there to take advantage of her. But at the same time, I don't. And sometimes I used to feel cruel at offering that hope, because most of the time I don't have hope. There's too much corruption. Is there really a chance that this particular, of the hundreds of times I've been in this scenario, is this one going to be one of the very few that plays out and is successful, and that her journey stays successful in aftercare and rehabilitation? But I believe that offering that hope and breathing a little bit of oxygen on that hope is always the right move.
Knowing that there is someone out there that cares, knowing that there are other people out there that are not out to hurt you,
Yeah.
that gives hope. And we all need that. That is so important
Yeah.
that you're giving them that. Well, let's talk about the apparel that people can buy on your site, because I'm wearing
Nice.
this, and my favorite bracelet. Now, I never leave home without this bracelet on, so I'll make sure everybody can see it.
Oh, I love that.
And I would love for everyone to go visit your site and buy something. These have been great conversation starters. I don't think I have ever been out of the house wearing either one of these where not at least one person has asked me about it. Oh, I love that. It's beautiful. Or where'd you get it? And that opens up for me to talk about Exodus Road and Remedy Drive and the work that you guys are doing. Because I say, oh, well, thank you. This was made by the survivors of sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And it opens this dialogue. And so I've been able to tell so many people about what you guys are doing just based on wearing these things
I love
every
that.
day. So and then they're beautiful and they're wonderful. And I love that I can help someone and I can support a cause that is extremely dear to my heart.
Yeah.
And then get the word out.
I forgot about the back half of that, because I'm always excited for people to help us contribute to these other organizations that are helping with rehabilitation, with restoration, with transitional employment, and all the other things needed for somebody that's coming out of this horrific environment. But I need to remember to say, hey, this gives you a way to talk to people. I'm going to grab this over here. My son wanted a chain. They're wearing chains now. He's 16, but he took this off. So I just actually have it in here because I was like, man, put that back on for me. But it says I'm not a commodity on it.
Yes, I've seen those on your site.
So this one is a little more obvious, like, what's that mean? But with all of that stuff, it gives everybody a chance to participate in amplifying the voice of hope and the voice of freedom. So I forgot about that, like the fact that it gives you a chance. And like the elephants you'll see on the site,
Yes,
they're all made in other countries. And some of these organizations, the Exodus Road, which focuses on intervention only. That's our focus. Even though we do have a safe home we just opened up in Thailand, these organizations focus on after someone's escaped slavery. What happens now? How do we help these girls? How do we help these young moms? How do we keep their kids out of the life? How do we give them transitional employment? I was in Cambodia, right where both those things are made, right across the street from where your kimono was made. And the kimono was made, the bracelet for sure was made in a former child brothel. Like the organization that we were there with
Wow.
shut down that whole street and then purchased all the property because it was a street that was known for child trafficking. Westerners would come there specifically for that. So all this, they're not only in the business of restoring humans, but they restored the actual street and turned it into something beautiful. Isn't that amazing?
That's wonderful.
And
Wow.
then down the road, my children, we walked into this facility that we're helping to support, are standing across from girls that are 15, 16 maybe, wearing all the white hats and the clothes that chefs wear. And girls that used to be sold for sex now have been rescued and are being trained in a state-of-the-art culinary arts facility right there.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Isn't that amazing?
That is. Oh my goodness. See, I love to hear these stories.
Yeah.
And I could have you on once a month and hear all of these amazing things, and it would be beautiful. So you guys right now are participating in the Human Freedom Music Awards.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. So tell me a little bit about that and tell me how people can go on and help promote you on there and help you with this.
They're called the Human Freedom Awards. The songs are through with the first round where the fans can vote and help propel the artist that they back up. And now our song is in there with several other songs that are being judged by members of the band Switchfoot and One Republic, and a couple of producers that have produced a lot of names that we both would recognize, which is kind of exciting that our song's there. And it's exciting that there's somebody that's that believes, like we've been talking about this whole time, in the need for truth in art when it comes to justice issues. So Humans Against Trafficking has a fund that they're giving grants out to artists to help propel their career and push their songs so more people find their songs, so we can multiply our efforts at recruiting people into the work we're doing. So I'm hopeful that our song will be liked and that we'll be able to pour more resources into letting more people in our community to find out about us.
Absolutely. Well, do you have a song that you're going to play today?
Yeah, I'll play that song that we put forward, which it's a less rock and roll version, just my piano. But this one, everything we've been talking about kind of weaves into the song. There's always more I wish I could say when I'm doing this work, but I can't. I have to leave almost everything unsaid. And so this song is what I wish I could say if I didn't have to stay in the role that we have to stay in when we're doing this work. I want more for you than this life, more than all this emptiness inside. A life exists outside of this love. Can I lift your listless eyes up? By any means I'll try to fix this. Give you more than empty kisses. I dream your dreams and wish your wishes. With you I hope the hope you once dismissed comes true. You were lovely, like the stars above. You were lovely, and you are still loved. When you're walking on a wire between the vultures and the fire, I can hear you asking why. In the quiet of the night, you were lovely, like the stars above. You were lovely, and you are still loved. so beautiful, beautiful. Don't you know? Oh, so beautiful, beautiful. You're so beautiful, beautiful. Don't you know? Oh, so beautiful, beautiful. You were lovely, like the stars above. You were lovely, and you are still loved. Don't forget you're beautiful and valuable. I want more for you. Don't forget you're beautiful and valuable. I want more for you. There we go.
That was so beautiful. What an important message. Wow. The worth. So many people feel worthless and are made to believe that they are not valuable.
Yeah.
And that right there, we need to put that on a billboard.
I hope so. That's my hope for the Human Freedom Music Awards, that we get the chance to do that, you know.
Absolutely. If you could say one thing to artists and creatives from any walk of life on using their talent to do something, in their communities, to do something to make a difference, what kind of advice would you give?
There's a woman named, I think her last name's pronounced Narichi, but she said something along the lines of like, "Don't deprive us of your art." And there's such a tendency to be like, "Oh man, is this just a selfish bid for attention, or am I just showboating, or am I doing this for all the 100% pure reasons?" You're never going to do it for 100% the pure reasons. Period. None of us will, because we're human beings. So do it anyways, and then do your best to hit that mark. And when you see yourself straying, dial it back in. But do something. Don't do nothing.
That's my new favorite quote. Don't deprive us of your art. That's fantastic. I think we all need to remind ourselves that every day.
Yeah, you're not being selfish. Don't keep the world from seeing what you got, even if it's just a few of your close friends, or if it's 100 or 100,000 people or a million people. Don't deprive us of the beauty that you're going to bring, that you're
Absolutely.
going to birth, because no one else is going to say it the way you're going to say it.
100%. 100%. Well, tell me where we can find you on social media. What do you have coming up? Where would you like people to come take a look at all the things that you're doing?
Pretty much wherever you go. I'm not as good on TikTok as everywhere else.
I'm not even on TikTok. Most of my guests have been like, "Yeah, I'm on TikTok," and I'm like, "I got nothing."
We've done a little bit. It just has a stigma, but so did every other place where people find new things when they came out. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Our website is remedydrive.com.
Okay.
And all of those places, you won't go 2 or 3 days without hearing about the Exodus Road.
Absolutely. Yeah. remedydrive.com. Definitely. Then check out merchandise, see what you guys are up to. You're David Zock on Instagram, and then the Remedy Drive has an Instagram as well, right?
Yeah, it's David M. Zock, and
David
Zock
Zock.
spelled like Bach, Z-A-C-H. Thanks for getting the pronunciation right. That's a rare thing.
Yeah, well, Laura, you can thank Lori Day for me being able to pronounce your name. So everybody needs to go check that out. And thank you so much for chatting with me, being willing to do this. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all of this with me and with my audience. And hopefully we can continue this on and inspire other people to get involved as well.
Yeah, that's a dream. Thanks for having me on your program.
All right, wonderful. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, bye.